War. Huh. What is it good for? Absolutely nerfing. Yeah, if you want this shirt, there's a link down in the description below. This is from Ryan of Silver Fox Industries. Can't look at the back of my head, so hopefully that showed up on camera. But when you're buying your motors and your 3D printed parts and your resin casted parts, you might as well pick up an awesome shirt too. I want to thank him for giving me this. He's not paying me for it or anything, but he did give me the shirt, and it's awesome. It's very high quality. I've given it the patented work in it for a day shirt and see what happens, and it held up beautifully. That's why it looks like it's all covered in super glue and sawdust, because it is. Anyway, on to the video. Welcome to Fuzzy Walrus Industries. I'm Walcom, and today it's time for Tag Back, the show where every week we take a look at a blaster from the past, see what it can offer us today in the present, and this time, it's a modded Tag Back. Throughout the years, and I do mean years, it's been 4 years since I started this channel as of this Friday, April 13th. Let me know down in the comment section what you want to see for like a 4-year anniversary, and I'll take some suggestions and see what I can do. But I've built a lot of blasters, some of them better than others, and well, they don't ever really get another chance to shine in the spotlight. Sure, I have a Fuzzy Walrus War Room, which I need to do more videos on, but that's kind of my only other time to show off some modded blasters, or modded blasters I've never done videos on. But when it comes to stuff like this, it doesn't really get its chance to shine other than the initial video. And I think it's time for that to change. When you absolutely positively must tag out every single mother effer in the room, the Nerf deleter. Except no substitutes. Going forward, I'd like to give these blasters another chance to shine, take them off the rack, and, well, see what it offers us today in the present, and what I could do to it going forward, and what I might have done differently back then. And this time we're taking a look at the Nerf deleter. This is my pride and joy. It's one of my favorite blasters I've ever built. It's also probably the fastest firing blaster I've ever built, unless you count the Chimera Strike, but that's a totally different subject. This thing is, as far as I know, still like the fastest firing Nerf pistol ever made. It clocks in around 36 darts a second. It's getting older, things are getting more worn out, it doesn't fire quite as fast as it used to, but man, back in the day, a little over a year ago, this thing was nutso. And that begs the question, what exactly is that high rate of fire even good for? Deleting someone. You can't really do trigger control with this blaster. It's not really possible. If you pull the trigger once, it fires like 14 darts. It doesn't really work all that well. It's an auto shotty, or a flamethrower, or something kind of similar to that, but it's relatively compact and beautiful, and that's kind of the allure of doing a double Hyperfire mod, because unlike things like the Rapid Strike, where one full rotation of the gearing system fires one dart, well, this thing has one short rotation of a gearing system because it uses a worm gear mainly, and also the belt fires 2 darts because it goes around and has 2 spots. So you basically get a lot higher rate of fire out of one of these Hyperfires, and a lot of people have had issues with them. I built this thing a while ago. I've shot literally hundreds of darts through it, and I've never really had an issue. In fact, of all the mods I've ever done, the deleter is the one that has held up the best. And I have had this kicking around in my war chest, and I have brought it out to wars, and I have used it in loadouts. You haven't really seen them because I don't really do a whole lot of recording at wars. I'm sorry about that. I'm trying to fix that. But this thing doesn't really work well practically. If I really just hated one person, and I wanted to ensure that I wasn't going to miss, they weren't going to dodge, and they were definitely going to sit out, this is what you use, because there is no dodging or evading or anything when it comes to the deleter, because it fires ridiculously stupid fast. And the funniest part about that is this thing is powered by a 3S LiPo, the pusher motors are Honey Badgers from Make Test Battle, and the firing motors are, of course, Make Test Battle Rhinos, because there's not a whole lot of room up here for anything other than that, because the motors are basically touching at this point. And stock flywheel cages, because back when I built this thing, well, 1, I didn't have a 3D printer, and 2, open flywheel project cages weren't exactly a super thing. In fact, I don't think there were any cages for this blaster available at that time. Maybe like a DRS cage, but I don't have the scratch to buy metal cages for a Hyperfire and throw them in this thing. And yeah, it is magazine fed. It's got 3 controls. It's got, of course, a rev trigger, a firing trigger, and then a magazine release, which you press forward with your middle finger and you can pull out the magazine. These are the beautiful Worker 22 dart mags that were sent to you homely, and I thank you very much because they were absolutely perfect for this blaster. And this thing is dumb. Now, with these magazines, since they're a bit bigger and their spring compression isn't exactly all that great, it fires a little bit slower. That could help. Other than that, you've got 44 darts on tap in magazines that are literally bigger than the blaster itself. Like, no fooling. That's just about, that's for sure. And it deletes people. Now, when I built this, it was absolutely awesome, and it still is absolutely awesome. And one of the major project goals was to build a blaster using basically only pieces from the blaster itself. After all, I could just take a bunch of pieces and glue them together and make things like the Hellsender. However, when it came to this project, I was going to have a lot of extra stuff I wasn't going to use, and so I put together every little cut I could possibly imagine to make this thing as stylish as I could using basically only parts from the Hyperfire. That being said, it does have one part that's not from a Hyperfire, and that is, of course, the rail on the top, which came from Brett's Stampede, and we sawed it right off right after he thrifted it. And I actually don't remember whatever happened in that Stampede. It looked really cool. Stampedes look really cool with flat tops, and I really much thank him for putting this rail, or letting me have this rail, first of all. This was John's idea, and it just brings the entire thing together, and you can even kind of aim through the middle, although I don't know why you'd be aiming with the deleter, because you just pull the trigger and it goes. That's kind of the entire point of the blaster. And of course, this thing was wired by Captain Xavier and I. He did a lot of the wiring on this because after tackling all this stuff, all this bodywork, sanding it, painting it, doing all that crap, I needed to tap out because there was no way. I had spent days and days and days working on this blaster. And can you just wire this up for me? It's really easy, just do this. He's like, I'm gonna do it my way. And he did it his way, and it worked out pretty good. He actually has motor braking and stuff, which is kind of ridiculously dumb, because he doesn't need to have that. But he did it anyway, because he can. I would have done the wiring a little bit simpler. It probably would have worked just the same, but I do appreciate his help very, very much, because after doing all of this, I just needed to throw in the towel, have somebody else. I needed to tag team somebody else in for a second to help me finish this thing. And it worked out flawlessly. Does have a voltmeter on the back of it. The initial problem with the wiring is that the voltmeter only turns on when you rev the blaster, and that doesn't work very well because then the battery is under load because all of the motors are spinning up, so you don't get an accurate reading. So that's something I could definitely change in the future. And the front of this thing, I don't exactly like it. I like how it has the two front posts so you can very easily see where it's actually pointing at, but down here, I could never figure out anything to really put there, unfortunately. So it's really still just rough plastic. There could be something put on the front of this, but weight's starting to become an issue. I think we weighed this thing and it weighs more than Ire, which is a full rifle. This is an SMG pistol, an auto pistol, and that's a bit of an issue. And the battery compartment doesn't really hold more than a zippy compact 1000 mAh battery, which is fine because it's not really going to be used all day or anything like that, but it's a really tight fit in there. Like, that's not a joke. And the only other part besides the Stampede rail that isn't originally from this blaster is, of course, the plastic plate thing that I got from TJ and Ashley Banks that I cut up to use for that. And some of the screw posts have broke out, so there's really only 2 screw posts holding that on anymore, but it doesn't exactly matter. It holds on just fine. And the grip still has a hole there. Don't exactly know how I'm going to cover that. I mean, I can, but it still has to be comfortable. So I think I have to design like some kind of plug to put in there that I can pop out, and that's a little bit easier said than done. So yeah, there are definitely some design changes I would make. Would I add a stock and barrel attachment and make it modular and all that? No. No, like the only cool thing I'd want to do with this is make it be able to split apart, but then it would have 2 grips, so what exactly is the point of that? I like how it's meant to be a pistol. It could use maybe I could take off the side plates and make it slightly thinner if I wanted to, but it's a pistol. It's meant to just use as a secondary and make sure that you actually tag out everything in front of you. In HVZ, it would be hilarious because you can theoretically tag out 44 zombies, and you'd probably do really good just by pointing it up in the air and raining darts down on things. Again, stock cages, motors are aftermarket, but it doesn't exactly get all that good in the way of velocity. Probably around 100 FPS. Doesn't exactly matter because this thing is not meant to really tag people out at long range, and if I need to angle it, it's literally raining darts down on people. And the funniest part about the Hyperfire is, No barrel, no nothing, just those canted flywheels. I've never had this thing jam on me, ever. The funniest part is it's, stupidly accurate. It's too accurate for what it's supposed to be doing. I know when the Hyperfire first came out and people were showing videos of it spraying circles, that's what I was hoping for. I was hoping to just be able to hold this thing and have it sprinkler darts out in front of me, and that didn't exactly happen. This thing shoots like 2 laser beams, and that's not great. And that's one of the reasons why I haven't messed with it, because it already works perfectly, so what exactly is the point? If I wanted to upgrade this thing, I would probably convert the back-end motors to be Wolverines, because I've seen those put in like a Chaos and it's disgusting. And the front motors I might convince, like, take them to Fangs or something. They might fit in there. It's a really, really tight squeeze in between, but I might be able to fit 132s in there. Just maybe. And probably tap in the voltmeter somewhere else so it doesn't have this crazy thing where it flickers when you turn it on and you don't get an accurate reading. And right now it doesn't even work because the wires broke off and I haven't soldered them back on yet. Of all the things I've built, this is one of my favorites. I think even the paint chips that have happened, because it has hit the ground a couple of times and rocked around in boxes, it still works good. It's a very decent paint job from my standards, and it fires stupidly fast and does a thing that none of my other gear kind of does, for better or worse. So, the deleter, I like it. What about you? Let me know what you think about the Nerf deleter down in the comments section below, and more importantly, I'd like to know what other blaster you'd like to see next on a modded tag back, because I've done quite a few of them, and it's been a while since I've kind of showed most of them off, so really, let me know. I'm Walcom, thank you very much for watching this video. Of course, I do hope to see you in an entirely different one, and this time I tried to do something a little bit different. Freaking deleter.